Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. I've got another of the textured stony tags that we made some time ago. I'll link to that description in the video below so that you can see how we created this gorgeous mossy brick texture. And I've had quite a lot of colourful mop-ups lately, as you may have noticed. I've also got one of the gel prints from another video that we created using the tints. So all these mop-ups, I think I'm right in saying that most of these mop-ups are PaperArtsy tints. So I'll link to relevant videos down below if I can remember where they are, those mop-up pieces. And I just thought that given it's spring, I think, did we make these on camera or not? This was my winter leaf cutting papers. Oh, I know, we created some papers for autumn leaf cutting, and then I used the same method just with greens. So I could link the autumn leaf cutting version down below. So that's just, yeah, making lots of papers that you can then cut various bits of greenery out of. So I've got some Tim Holtz Sizzix Thinlits dies here, greenery, these lovely meadow flowers and wreaths, and I just thought I'm going to have a play with this. But one of the things with this is obviously you've got flowers and stems, but then greenery down below, and ideally what I'd want would be that for the greenery, and then maybe cut this for the top part, which isn't quite going to work. This one almost works because I've got some green down here already, so that could be quite fun to cut that there. But I thought one of the things I could do is cheat slightly, pick somewhere that the flower heads are going to hit, maybe that way up, something like that. Then I'm going to get those nice sort of pinks and reds and so on there. But in order to have a bit more greenery going on, I thought I would cheat my mop-up papers by adding a bit to them. Who says you can't? You don't have to use a mop-up paper exactly as it turns up. So I've got a couple of my favourite green acrylic paints here. PaperArtsy, that's Granny Smith that's just gone down there. That's Hey Pesto, and a little bit of lawn. And I've got a natural sponge here, which is just going to give me nice spongy texture. And I thought what I'm going to do is just give myself a nice green base to this mop-up, so that I can then choose to cut out. And the stems actually go quite a long way up here. So if this is greenery and greenery and greenery and greenery, that's probably gonna do a decent job for that one. So it's nice and green at the bottom, and then I'll just take my chances on how that works out, like so. And then I thought I'd also intensify that a little bit over here, so that I take some greenery definitely around the bottom, intensify that. So I had mopped up some greens there already. But you can see the natural sponge is just a really excellent way to add random texture. It gives you these beautiful textural details. So I'm sort of thinking, should I add a little bit on there as well? This is very flimsy paper, as you know, because when I'm playing with gel prints, for the most part I tend to use copy paper, just so I can take lots and lots of prints without worrying about cost. But I think it might be quite nice to have a gentle version of that in the background. So again, I just look at that texture, it's just magic. So yeah, get hold of a natural sponge for yourself. So I think I'm gonna cut maybe this nice one out of here. I'm going to cut a couple of leafy stems, maybe the ivy, which is my favourite. You can see I've already used that for some ivy at some point. I've got this one, which was also a bit of a mop-up. I might do a bit of that. I'm going to have a cutting session and then come back and see where we're at to arrange some things over this brick texture. Back shortly. Since we're thinking about mop-ups today, I need to go and put this into water as well. Make sure you rinse out your natural sponge, otherwise that will harden. which will give you another kind of texture. But also in terms of mop-ups, I've got this lovely green paint on the mat here. Don't want to waste that. So I've just got little fragments of my tissue paper hanging around. And I'm just going to print some of this paint onto the back of here so that I've then got a lovely piece of green tissue ready to play with another day. So that, obviously, I need to leave to dry this way up, and I'll probably put it over a piece of paper just to make sure it stays flat. So I can leave that to dry, and then I've got that for just layering into a journaling page or some such thing at some point in the future. I've just seen that this piece has also got nice leafiness on, so this is going to have a slightly subtler green blend because there's less paint on the mat now, but worth it just to make sure we're making use of the paint that we've got. Grand. So now I am going to go and do some die cutting, and here's most of the die cutting done. So with a die this detailed, you are going to have to do some extra poking out of little bits afterwards, and you might also have to be quite patient about getting these out of their frames. You want to make a good cut, so use a shim. Anybody who's got no idea what I'm talking about, there is a video where I do some die cutting on camera, but it's just a bit of a faff to move the die cutting machine over here all the time. So it's these steel dies with cutting edges. You put them in a press with the paper, run them through the die cutting machine, which presses enough so that against the cutting surface you get these cut out of your papers. The copy paper is it's too flimsy. I sort of know that, but I always live in hope, and I've got a reasonable pull out of this so that I could use some of these stems, and if I were prepared to be really patient. And the way with this is not to just kind of rip and pull, but is to do sort of gentle wiggling, and you can very often free even the most fragile of stems. So there's that one coming out. But just for today, because I've got enough to play with, I'm going to leave that for a day when I'm feeling a little more patient. It's almost free now, look. But that is definitely too flimsy for what I've got in mind today, which is to have it freestanding over the wall. That would be fine if I were to glue it direct to a tag or into a journaling page. So I may well do that in the future, whether it's in an episode or just in my own free time. I don't know. So let's pop this back in its packet before I lose it. And yeah, so I basically my plan is to have this come over the brick wall like this, probably with a little bit of extra dimension. So if I fold like so, I'm going to get those coming forwards of there, with a couple of sort of little extra stems happening behind in the background. I'm not quite certain yet whether I want to use, let's put these stems to one side. I love both of these that have come out of, one's come out of that, which was a longer piece. I had to cut, was it that way, to get it to go through the die cutting machine. This one came out of the other, obviously. I think I'm really enjoying those delicate pinks for today against that mossy wall. I think these sort of, they're amazing, but they detract from the wall a bit too much, and I do love my brick wall. So I think it's that. I've got, oh, hang on, there's a background hanging around here that is just a spritzy sort of, oh, see, I think maybe they go there because these blue tones are just really good against the background. I think that's probably something for another day. That's really rather beautiful, but I'm going to focus for now on this one. I don't want to put this quite at the bottom. If I line it up completely with the bottom, I'm going to lose all this gorgeous crackle here. So I'm thinking of just above the bottom and doing something that will just kind of blend this in a bit with there. I want, as I say, some of these extra stems maybe just peeking out in various directions. That one's quite a dark green. I quite like this one. It's got a bit more of more of an acid green that tones in with what's going on down there quite well. So let's try you. let's audition these. The audition process is very big in theatre, which is my other world. So let's audition some of these stems and see. I've always loved this grassy stem, so chances are that's going to make it in. That's quite a good tall central one, let's say. Maybe something like you coming out this other side. Again, quite like the acid version. So these acidy greens as opposed to the bluey greens. So the bluey greens actually are going to be wonderful if they're with these, aren't they? So it's going to be a similar sort of tag over here, just with a slight variation in colour tone. I'm going to end up making this one today as well, aren't I, at this rate? There you go, over that. Maybe you come a little bit wider so that I can see you between the plants there. You are maybe a bit too, you're better further up. Bit too much, that big one maybe, so let's try one of these. Oh, I've got all my stems and my leaves all tangled up. That's quite nice. I'm enjoying that one coming up through the middle. Maybe you can come too. Maybe you can, if we put you through here. Again, I'm losing quite a lot of brick wall if I do that. Oh, it's quite nice, isn't it? With that greenery climbing up. Maybe a little bit lower down. No, that's now too much. Interesting. That happened really fast. What about if you were to come this, oh, okay, delicate stems like this. Watch yourself. Oh, but that's quite a nice stem without its top bit on. I was just thinking of trying these the other way around, so there's a bit more greenery this side and a bit less greenery that side. So that's actually played into my hands. I think it might be something like that. And then actually these leaves might be quite good down here to sort of disguise what's going on with that line. Okay, I'm gonna take a risk. And I think what I might do is, because I'm planning dimension for this, I'm hopefully going to be able to slide those in later if I put this in place first. So what I want for this is, as I say, that little bit of extra dimension. So I'm going to fold these bits round and use those to glue like so, and hopefully be able to create a kind of beautiful curved garden. Rather enjoying that. Oh, I know what could go along the bottom here. It could be moss, couldn't it? Trouble is, if I do moss, what happens if we put an extra wave in this so that it can go in and out and in and out again? That's rather good. And also gives me an extra place to glue. Moss, I was just thinking, is also going to cover up what's going on down here. I'm wondering if I trim this, if I trim to a little bit less greenery, I'd lose less crackle, if you see what I mean. Whether I'd still be able to, so I'm just taking a sliver off the bottom here. Ooh, risky. Oh, but worth it. Great. And in fact, I rather like that. I do like it flat against the wall as well. Let's have a look at it again with the dimension. And if I can get that middle bit to go down, so we're going in and out and in and out. You know me, I do love a bit of dimension. Let's put it flat again and see what we think. I would have to trim those bits a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think that might be quite good because, yes, and if I just glue at the bottom, they're going to come forwards. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, let's do it before I change my mind. So I want a bit of glue along just above the crackle. I'm going to make that my main point of contact for gluing. Pop that into place. Yeah, and if I press that down nice and firmly, then these kind of come up and away. So I'm getting my dimension without having to go for the curve. I'm going to let that dry a bit with some clothes pegs to hold it down. And I'll do a bit of inking to kind of, oh, in fact, of course, what it is what we used on the wall in the first place. It's going to be the distressed crayons, just to create a little bit of connection between there and there. I'm wondering if I do need to trim this. I think I need to trim that, because otherwise it's going to just potentially snag and fall off. But I think that's probably enough to get that lovely sense of presence, but without causing chaos when I try to keep it somewhere. So I'm thinking this one can stick to being somewhere in the middle, like so. I'm thinking this one is maybe quite good coming out there. Do we want as much as that happening over at this side? If we do, then I think we're going to need one of these coming off in this direction, sort of like that. I do like the greenery. I do leaves, foliage, beautiful things like this. So whilst that's gluing down there, now this is going to be fragile, don't get me wrong, you've already seen one of those leaves come apart. But it's sort of, it's in that fragility that some of the beauty lies. It's like the ephemerality of spring blossom. It's the very fact that it doesn't last long that adds to its beauty. It's in that fragility and kind of delicate possibility that so much of the beauty lies. Those things which are fragile and delicate invite our compassion, our empathy, our delight, because it seems so impossible that something so fragile can survive. Enjoying that there. A little poker, so this little poking tool is really proving its worth today. Let's have a look. Maybe it's not that stem, maybe it's as simple as that one there, because then that'll give me room for maybe some words up there. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's have a look at you again. The auditioning process continues. Did you get a call back? Oh, that is good. I like that. Is it you as well or not? Is that too much? Maybe we want you down here as we thought. I'll keep you for down there. Let's go with you. Like so. And we can even use, maybe that's it. See, it was meant to be. I'm gonna get you in there. Come on, pokey tool, I need you to help me get that down behind. And then this little broken off bit could just tuck in here as though it's coming off in that direction. That's probably quite good. Or yeah, or finish it off up here. So if it hadn't fallen off, that's where it would have gone anyway. So let's let it, or let's at least audition it there. It's probably too similar to what's going on there. I think it's maybe better has its own kind of leaf here, coming off the stem back to here. Yeah, okay, sold. These, I think I'm going to put a little bit, now that I've got those tucked in, I'm going to add a little bit of glue in various places here just to help support these. So that wasn't very helpful because I put it right where there isn't any plant. So let's pick that up. Going to put a little bit behind you and a little bit behind you, just so I've got a couple of points of contact a bit further down the tag. maybe we encourage you to go backwards a little bit because you're just going to bend further otherwise. And we'll maybe protect you because you're quite a fragile flower head. No, don't like it pressed down so much. If we did it further down, which was what I was trying to aim for. There we go. That's what I'm after. And you. So I'm still leaving these flower heads free to move at the top. But I've given them a little bit of purchase a bit further down the tag. Grand, that should be dry enough now. So where's a little bit of hickory smoke to just go along the bottom of this here. And then I may also go and grab yeah, so I hope you can see how that's just allowed the base of this to kind of blend into the crackle that's going on down below. I've still got crackle visible up here, still got lots of stoniness, deliciousness. Let's take a look at you down there. Not needed, not needed, not wanted. I think this might be where some words are going to go as well, which will be a further disguise. Grand. Do I want to do this now as well? No, let's come back to that for next week's tag time. there's a treat in store, or I might leave it a couple of weeks. I'll do something else in between. How's that? Or no, it might just be spring flower time. Great. I'm going to go and have a look for some words and see whether there's any other little embellishments that want to go on here. Back in a sec. I return to you slightly baffled. I've got, of course, lots of lovely spring words on my new stamp sets, but there is also in my quote sets way back when, so we're on 45, 46, 47 now, EAB06 is the spring edition. So all the quotes, 10 quotes on that set, all about spring. And I seem to have temporarily mislaid that set of stamps. I expect I've put it in a pile somewhere ready to work on spring projects, and now I don't know where that pile's gone. So I'm really happy to work with these. In fact, I think maybe the one I want, this little poetry fragment here, every flower enjoys the air it breathes. I'm just trying to find my notes to tell you, yes, that is Wordsworth. I thought it was. So that little fragment. The small font words on here are poetry fragments by various poets. Life's Alive in Everything is Christina Rossetti, I believe. Yes. And Every Flower Enjoys the Air it Breathes is a fragment from William Wordsworth's poem, lines written in early spring. So it couldn't be more perfect. And I'm thinking that's probably going to go along the bottom here. I might even go so far as to stamp it on this coordinating bit of paper. We'll see. I may hate that. It may be kind of really too pat and easy and kind of too coordinated. But until I do it, I don't know. I also don't know whether I want it in grey to go with the brick wall. So this is Watering Can Archival, one of the Wendy Vecchi colours. And I'm going to pop that there. I like the subtlety of that. Or whether I maybe want it in green to go with the leaves. But that might also be too sort of easy. So that's olive, and that's a bit of leaf green added to the olive. So again, I'm going to pop that there so that we can have a look at each of those and just see what gives us pleasure. Might be neither of them. Might have to go for some white card and let it be something else altogether. But until I look, I don't know. So I'm tempted to try the grey one first. That was my first instinct, was grey. Not sure I'm enjoying the pink. If I could get it on this bit where it's a lot less pink, I think I'd like that better. Maybe maybe it's this little bit here. Let's look at the green first, because we've not got much space to stamp on that white bit. That at the moment the pink here is too much for me. It's too pink, and I think it is the grey. So this part here is what I'm eyeing up, because it's quite pale and white. There's a little bit of green left on the stamp, I don't mind. I'm going over with the watering can Archival. And stamp it there. That might be gentle enough to make me happy. We'll see. And it might be a question of mounting it on a little white matted bit to just let it have a bit more presence, because this again is on the floppy copy paper. That's nice and gentle. It's a shame it goes all the way across. I would prefer it. Well, maybe I can have it hanging off the tag in that direction. Or maybe I need a shorter phrase. Just going to try and trim, because it's a little bit thick at one end. Now I'm out of white pink paper. Or maybe that's good enough, like so. And back to this. Maybe if I could get rid of a bit more of this so that it wasn't quite so in your face pink. That's not so bad. It was something about it being central was not making me happy. Maybe if it's off center, it's a little better. I think I am going to have to try it on white. I think I'm also going to have to try a shorter phrase. Maybe life's alive in everything. Maybe a light exists in spring. That's beautiful, isn't it? Let's try it on white first, because maybe it's as simple as that. Maybe it's turn this paper over. Grey. Maybe it's just that pinkness that is making my head hurt. See, I can deal with a certain amount of pink, and then there comes a point where I'm just, no, enough, stop with the pink. It's still not a natural place to play for me. It's becoming more of a feature in my color palettes, but it still needs to take its place, not become the overarching color in a thing. That's always going to be blue and brown and grey. Grey and green. I mean, obviously, with the amount of botanical and nature stuff that goes on, green is sort of a given. Let's look at it in white and see if that's a better. No, that's taking the eye too much. Isn't it interesting? It's such a delicate balancing act to get the thing that works. Now that I've gone back to that, I'm quite enjoying it. And what I might do is try to mount it. I haven't got quite enough there. Dash it all. So close. Have I got another bit of that white card lying around? Could be there. In fact, that's what it's come out of, isn't it? Ooh, well, maybe there is something pale enough going on down there. Maybe I can catch that in pale enough form. Now, I think I want the first word in the pinker end. Okay, let's see what this does. These tiny things make a difference. Well, they make a difference to me. You can tell me in the comments below whether they make a difference to you. It's these little tiny variegations in colour that can really shift whether an element works or doesn't work. I think that might do for me. I think that might be the one. But I think I do want to at least look at it mounted over a bit of a matted version. So can I get it on there? Just about. I don't want to glue it down yet, unfortunately. So maybe I can manage to cut a good enough version of that. As a mat, just to see. Not perfect, but close enough. Yes, that's just gonna do the thing I want it to do, I think. So now I will glue it down so that I can then trim it in a more elegant way. There we are. Every flower enjoys the air it breathes. And because we've got that transition from the slightly pinker bit to the slightly whiter bit, it's going to be a very fine mat, and that's fine by me. Can I get it even all the way around? Even-ish all the way around. A little bit off the bottom. Again, praising my long shears, which mean that I don't have to reposition. And then it can go centre or it can go off centre, just above all that crackle there, which is delicious because it's drawing the eye towards the crackle. I think I need to know whether I'm putting anything up here before I make a final decision on the positioning of that. So I've now got lots of pink quotes to play with and a white one. Let's keep all those. You never know. You never know. All those little candy strands. We might want one of them over here on that other tag. They are going to end up being partners, aren't they? Even though I'm not making them at the same time for once, they're going to end up speaking to one another. But I enjoy that. Just putting the quote away so that it doesn't go astray, given I've lost a whole set of quotes today. I think it probably is as simple as some twine up there. And I know what else I want. I want some white spatter. So I'll do that, and that'll give me another clue about what I want to have happen. So this pot of Snowflake is almost empty, so I'm now at the point where I'm perfectly happy to just stick my spatter brush straight in it and pick up. There we are, pollen, little motes of dust dancing in the light, and just that delicious randomness that brings a certain life and movement to the end stage of a project. And it'll also echo that white mat that is behind the quote. Great. So I'm going to decide on the final positioning of my quote. I'm going to pop some twine into the top there, and then of course I will be diving in for a close-up at the very end of what we've had to play with today. Thank you so much for your company. As always, do leave me comments and questions. I'll try to leave as much detail as I can in the description down below, as always, of what we've used today, and I will link to as many relevant videos as I can think of that might have things in them that will give you further background on some of the techniques today. Thank you for your company as ever on this creative journey, and happy crafting all.